Chapter 1.
Hey, I have a slight problem. Bring over a shovel and a bottle of vodka?
That was how it all began. It was an end to a nightmare that had been terrorizing me for months, but the beginning of the most horrible secret I could ever imagine. I wasn't alone through this, which was the good part. I never thought in my life I would encounter something like this. I was always a good person. I went to church on Sundays, grew up in a lovely family, and went to college in upstate New York. I thought my life would be golden from that point on. I'd come home with my degree, have a hotshot job in New York for a while, marry my boyfriend, raise kids, and live happily ever after. Yeah, it's funny how life likes to bite you in the ass. Now here I was, 43, divorced mother of a 7-year-old who was currently at school when all of this went down. It boggled my mind. How could something as simple as changing lanes change my entire life? It had. Now I had done something I never thought I could or would do. I sat down on my red couch, clutching a New York Mets throw pillow, and waited. I huffed as I tossed the pillow aside and bowed my head, placing my interlaced hands against my forehead. I shook my head. My brown hair fell on either side of my face. All the while, I was staring at the covered lump on the floor. I breathed out, wondering how I could have done it. The storm was still raging outside, with the rain pouring down. It was like the night, the way the sky was so dark. You'd never know that it was 11 in the morning. As for the gunshot, it had probably been mistaken for thunder. I had changed earlier to a regular gray t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. My other clothes sat in a pile next to the lump on the floor. So much for my favorite business suit. Now it was a bloody mess on my hardwood floor. Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? I never had in my life thought of myself as violent. But being alone, my uncle had urged me to get this for protection. He told me that I couldn't take a chance with my current situation. I picked it up and stared at it. I had fired it. The courts would rule it as self-defense, or at least I hoped I would. I didn't know. This small black gun had forever changed my life. There was a knock on the door. I put my gun on my small oval coffee table, took out my smartphone, and activated my doorbell app. I breathed a sigh of relief as I saw who it was, and I got up from the couch to answer it. I took another breath and slowly turned the silver doorknob as I opened the door. Hi, Karen. Tell me what happened, Jill. She came through the door, shovel and a bottle of vodka in each of her hands. Her brown hair tied back in a ponytail, dressed in a sweatshirt and jeans. She stopped cold as her eyes widened and her mouth dropped open. Did you? I nodded as I shut the door. Shoot the fucker? Yes. She breathed out. That explains the shovel. Let's open the vodka. She had a grin on her face as she placed the shovel against the wall and then walked into the kitchen. I followed. We should call the police, Karen. No, she shouted as she spun around to face me. I shot him, I said in desperation as I waved my arms. It was self-defense. Anybody could see. When did it happen? Where did it happen? Karen asked as she crossed her arms and leaned against my kitchen counter. Inside. Okay, it could be self-defense. But also outside, too. What? She huffed as her arms dropped to the side. I shot him on the porch, I cried as I pinched my forehead. Then you don't have a shot in hell, Karen told me as she began to open the vodka. I breathed out, shutting my eyes, placing my hands on them, and nearly running back to my couch. I sat hunched over, my face in my hands, whining and crying like a scared little girl. How could I have done this? Easy, Karen called out from the kitchen as she proceeded to pour the vodka into a glass. He was the son of a bitch and had it coming. I shook my head as I heard her chuckling. Oh, God, I muttered, wiping my tears away with the back of my hand. Take it easy, Jill, Karen told me as she walked back into the living room with 2 glasses filled with orange juice. I accepted one and took a sip, breathing out as I closed my eyes. The alcohol in it was evident. It calmed me. So I'm a murderer, I asked. Not quite, she said as she took a seat next to me, sipping on her drink, leaning back against the couch. If we call your uncle, then I'm sure we could hide it somewhere. Hide it? I asked with wide eyes. What do you mean? Hey, you're the one that said to bring a shovel. I breathed out. I did say that, didn't I? She nodded. Now we have to dispose of it. How? I asked. Call your uncle, she said. I can't ask this of him, I barked as I stood up glaring at her. I know it's stereotypical to have an Italian uncle that's connected, but when it's the truth, I can't ask this of him. Besides, he's not really connected. He just acts as if he is, or he's a low man or something. For God's sakes, he's a tow truck driver. Call him, she said. Oh, hell no, I growled as I stepped back and sipped on my drink. Then what? She asked as she sipped her drink and leaned forward. Are you going to leave it on the floor in your living room to rot away? What about when Justin comes home? What are you going to tell him? Are you going to ask him not to step on the dead body on the floor? How about those bloody clothes? What are you going to do about that? I didn't think about that. I closed my eyes and sat back down on the couch. Let's just call the police. I'll explain the situation. I'll tell them about what happened this past year, what he put me through, and how you shot him on the porch. I turned red and stammered on my answer. Yeah, like that. For real? The police will be understanding, Karen. I know that they will. We just have to chill. You can't be serious, Karen muttered as her Long Island accent started to make its way through. You shot him with an illegal gun. I don't know what to do, I sniffled and then bawled out. It's my first murder. I began to sob uncontrollably. I started to think of myself going to trial, hearing the words, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree. Then the sentencing, prison, orange jumpsuits. My life over. Me, someone's bitch. Done! Oh, God, I whined. Hey, calm down, Karen said in a soft voice as her accent returned to the generic one. She put her arm around me and gently rocked me back and forth. We'll figure this out. First, let's do something about that body. Do you have anything like a trunk, a large suitcase, or anything? I sniffled. I've got a trunk in the basement. Perfect. Where is it? In the basement, I snarled as I glared at her. Karen smirked. Oh, I meant, where in the basement, Jill? Oh, sorry, I gulped, turning red again as I sipped my drink. Near the dryer, up against the wall. Be right back. She got up and ran down to the basement. Minutes later, I heard rummaging, cursing, groaning, and thumps as she emerged from the basement, dragging the large, dusty trunk behind her. She breathed out, grinning as she leaned against it. This'll work. Karen immediately began to unload the contents and then nodded. Perfect. It's deep enough. Come on, help me. I rolled my eyes. I have to touch it? Chill. You're worrying me the way you seem so natural about this. Well, how did he get in here? Did the corpse just walk into the house? What? Is he a zombie just playing dead? I breathed out. I dragged him in here, but I don't want to. Jill, stop being a child. Karen, how can you be so relaxed? Well, I have a bit of a secret. She paused as she grinned and said with an evil twinge in her voice, leaning against the trunk with her arms crossed. This isn't the first body that I've had to dispose of. My eyes widened and I blurted, Are you fucking kidding me? You've done this before? Kind of, Karen smirked. Kind of, I blurted out in an exasperated sigh. My head felt like it was going to explode. I was a killer, a murderer. My best friend was an accessory and having fun with it. Now I was covering it up, and Karen handed me the phone. Call your uncle. Karen, I yelled. You know what Uncle Carlo told you to do. Call your uncle. I breathed out as I dialed. I heard it ring on the other end, and then I heard his voice.
Hi, Jill.
Uncle Carlo? I said in a shaky voice.
Jill?
Uncle Carlo, you need to come over. I've got a problem, and I really need your help. Silence. Uncle Carlo breathed in and asked,
You're not joking about this, are you?
No, I wish I were, Uncle Carlo.
It's okay. These things happen. I'll be there tomorrow. Put it in a safe place. I'll bring a friend with me. We'll take care of it tomorrow.
Uncle Carlo, are you sure? I asked with the tears streaming down my face.
Don't worry, Jill. We'll see you tomorrow. Is that thing in a safe place?
Yeah, it is, I replied as I nodded my head.
Okay, we'll be there tomorrow. Try and sleep, okay?
Okay, Uncle Carlo.
Don't worry, sweetheart. You'll be okay. I promised your mom, God rest her soul, I would always look after you. I will. My sister meant the world to me, and you, her daughter, do too. I promised her that I would look after you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Get some sleep.
Thank you, Uncle Carlo. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me, I said as I sniffled and wiped a tear away.
You're a good kid, Jill. You've always been. Don't worry. You'll be okay. Love you, sweetheart.
I love you too. Say hi to Aunt Celine for me.
Will do. Get some rest. You're lucky Ray's not around. Your cousin would have killed us some in a bitch already.
I giggled as I nodded. I know Ray would. Abby too, for that matter. Uncle Carlo chuckled and then said,
He'll be okay. Trust me, okay?
Okay, bye, Uncle Carlo. I breathed out as I hung up the phone and looked at Karen. All right, Karen said as she put her hands on her hips. Now we've got to get him into this trunk. I nodded. Okay. Can you get me a hammer and some latex gloves? Yeah, sure. Wait, what's the hammer for? Well, he might not fit, Karen said as she shrugged. Fit? I asked with a raised eyebrow. What do you mean? Yeah, I might have to break him a little, she said. Break? What do you mean by break, Karen? Bones, Jill. Bones, Karen? I asked as my mouth dropped open and I blinked. Yes, Jill. Bones. Oh dear, I breathed out. Go find the hammer, Jill. If you can't watch, just turn away. I'll go get the hammer, I said as I went down to the basement. When I came down the stairs, I saw my red toolbox in the corner. I opened the toolbox and reached for the hammer. It was a pretty heavy hammer. And then I walked up the stairs and handed it to Karen. Gloves? Karen asked. Oh, in the kitchen, I motioned as I walked into the kitchen and opened a long drawer. Crack! My head turned as I heard a loud, crunching, horrible sound. Oh, I shuddered. I shut my eyes as I began to get queasy, clutching the latex gloves to my chest, listening as I heard it again and again. Crack! Take that, you rotten motherfucking son of a bitch, I heard her say with another swing of the hammer. That Long Island accent was coming through strong now. Crack! This will teach you to mess with one of my friends, you little shit! Crack! I decided to remain in the kitchen until she was done. It looked like Karen was not going to wait for those gloves.